Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fab Fatties podcast reaction. I'm sure some of you are probably getting sick of these women. I know a lot of people hate these women. I don't like them, but I find them fascinating. I am enjoying hearing some of their fucking off the wall and entitled bullshit. I am. So we're gonna be like reacting to another episode. This is episode 9, and it says stepping into the spotlight, lights, camera, Allie. And lights, camera, Ellie is the username that Allie typically goes by. She actually commented on like one of the very first reactions that I did. And this is also the last episode with 4 of them. After this, it goes down to 3. So I'm kind of curious if some shit goes down in this. I don't know if we're actually going to make it all the way through, or if I'll like fast forward and see if there's any like storming off events going on after we kind of do a cursory listen of the first 20 to 30 minutes of this. So without further ado, let's just jump into this.
Welcome back to the Four Fab Fatties. We are so excited this week to talk about a really fun topic. I'm a little nervous, so bear with me. So before we do that, we're going to introduce ourselves, and obviously, I'm Allie.
I'm Rebecca.
Alyssa. I'm Maria.
All right. So this week, we're talking about my favorite topic. Me.
Oh my god, that's perfect.
This is the first in our series of getting to know us, everybody. So, yeah. What?
It's already
You got
yeah.
What's interesting though is that they do this one and then they do Rebecca. I am so fucking terrible with names. I don't even know which one is Rebecca. I know which one is Allie because she commented on the video, but after that, like, I'm shit with names. I don't remember whose, but the blonde one, she leaves, so we're not gonna get to know her. We get to know Rebecca, who I think I know who that one is, but then the last one whose name I don't remember, like wasn't when I was scrolling through, I didn't see a video for them. Could be that I just missed it, but very curious to know if like one of them just ends up getting left out. But let's just go ahead and I was about to say without further ado, no, we're already in it, so let's just get back to it.
Stick on your teeth already. It's the signature red.
It
man.
is.
My signature red loves to be on my
Yeah,
teeth.
if you see that red on her teeth, just know it's there with love, and it'll probably disappear like about 10 times and come back about 10 times.
How does it
And
look
that's
now?
part of her charm. It's gone now. You're good, girl.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so this is the first part of our 4-part series of getting to know us, and I'm starting out my own episode.
She was voluntold.
I was voluntold that I was going first, but I did volunteer to start my own episode because I have a question for all of you.
Oh. Plot twist. That is a plot twist. I'm like, this is not what we discussed.
How much does a penguin weigh?
32.8 pounds. You're welcome. Moving on.
That actually sounds correct.
Well, you ruined that for me.
Wait, is that correct?
No.
Oh my God.
But I do know how much. It's enough to break the ice.
Well, that failed. That failed spectacularly.
You know what I thought you were going to ask us? How much do you love me? I know. I was ready. I thought Allie was just going to start hyping herself up, being like, tell me the most amazing thing about myself.
Do you think I need to hype myself up?
No, I know you don't.
Okay, number one, where I was going with that was enough to break the ice. Hey, guys. So that was my go-to.
Maria won.
My
zero.
Sorry, that was Maria going, that's your joke.
All right, well, thanks a lot for that, Maria. I'm absolutely going to dunk on you on your...
The blonde one's name is Maria, who just ended up. I don't think that she meant to steal Allie's thunder, but Allie like legitimately seems irritated, which is interesting. Doesn't really surprise me for her. I have no idea if this is really going to be something we listen to the full episode on, given that it's apparently all about Allie. So I still think that it's worth listening to like the first third of this just to kind of get an insight into their dynamics, to get a little bit more information on them and all of that. I don't know if I see us listening to this full this full episode.
On your episode. That was amazing. I don't know how to recover. Moving on. So yeah, so that was my go-to little party line back in college for all the boys.
It was a very good party line.
I bet it
Very
worked.
good.
I would walk up and be like, "Hey, how much does a penguin weigh?" I don't know. Enough to break the ice. I'm Allie. Okay.
It'd work on me, just
I was
saying.
gonna say,
You know what?
Never in my life have I delivered an icebreaker line like that. Ever.
Well, it worked about 30 times. So let's get into the questions.
Yeah, so
Let's definitely
this
get
is a
into
new
it.
format for us, and like Ali said, this is the first of 4. So we will each have our turn at the table to be questioned. But we want to start off a little lightning round of questions.
All right, I'm ready.
Lightning round.
Lightning round.
Go.
Getting into it.
Yeah.
Rebecca.
What's your go-to Starbucks order?
Currently, the pistachio cream cold brew.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be? Faster, faster.
To read people's minds, because I'm an overthinker.
If you were a snow cone, what flavor would you be and why? If
Did this
you were
already.
a Sonic,
Blue raspberry.
not everyone watches these. Why?
Because it's delicious and it turns your tongue blue, and
Because
I like
it's
to
obviously
linger.
a little sour and not existent. Yes.
Next question.
Favorite movie of all time?
Ooh, Goodfellas.
If you could pick to fight one horse-sized duck or 100 horse-sized... Wait. Okay, hold on. Okay, if you could pick to fight one duck-sized horse or 100...
No.
Yes.
One horse-sized duck.
Yes.
Or 100 duck-sized horses.
Yes.
Yeah, we got there. Ellie knows. So
Okay, one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses.
What
Yes.
you said.
100 duck-sized horses.
You're
I will
wrong.
punt those things. Absolutely. If I have to fight them, I will be punting duck-sized horses.
Allie, PETA is not a sponsor anymore. There goes
Sorry,
that.
PETA. Absolutely not.
Tell me something that would surprise us.
I'm
Okay, I know I said we would try to listen to like the first 20 minutes. We're 5 minutes in. I'm fucking bored. Uh, I'm gonna give it 5 more minutes. We'll do 10 minutes, and then we might switch to the next one over, since it's also like the next one is It's Me, Rebecca. So it doesn't really fucking matter. So we might as well knock them both out now. We'll listen to 5 more minutes, and then I'll probably switch over to the Rebecca one. We'll sample that one for 10 minutes and see like if there's anything worth listening to. But I'm fucking bored.
not wearing underwear.
That's not
That's
surprising
not-
to me. Might be surprising to you. Not me.
We used to that.
Yeah, you know, the
Well, I
stress
love
just
it.
doesn't allow it.
Oh
You
my
survived the lightning
God.
round.
You survived the
Congratulations.
lightning.
Did my lipstick.
It did.
I love that for me.
Mascara, slightly not. I know
man.
she's leaking already, but you know what? Those eyes are gonna leak a little bit more. 'Cause
Here's
we're gonna
the
get
thing.
into some deeper stuff.
I am currently on a lot of prednisone, which is a steroid, and it makes me sweaty because I had another allergic reaction and my face blew up again. Turns out it was not my makeup wipes, it was my hairspray.
I still don't understand how your hairspray would get your face.
It's an aerosol spray. It's a mist. So as I'm doing this, right?
No, it just feels...
Ellie's
on my
lying.
face.
Yeah.
So
No, I don't think you're lying. I just think that
No.
maybe you haven't actually figured out what is causing the allergic
no,
reaction.
we figured it out. Allie likes to use her hairspray as like Botox because it's in this economy we can't afford it. So she holds these bad boys and just sprays
No, you do
them.
not.
No, I don't. But you gotta think, like,
The
I'm
way I
I'm
was on
spraying-
track.
Me too. I was like,
100%. But yeah, like the way that I'm spraying, I probably inhaled some. Yeah, you know,
Didn't work out well.
I hate that.
Yeah.
same. Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm very sweaty.
Well, we'll just all be sweaty buddies together.
Yeah, I
love
appreciate
it.
you guys throwing me into this on my
Your sweaty
prednisone
day.
journey. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Well, now we're moving into the next segment, which are more just kind of general questions about general things we want to know about each other, but not pointed to each other, because we do later on have questions specifically about Allie that are based on our knowledge of Allie. And of course, you know, as listeners, you may have been following Allie for a while. She may be a new person for you. So we're just excited to dive in a little deeper.
Dive in. I like it. Who wants to ask the first question?
I don't like when I miss say a word.
Leave it in.
Go for it,
All right,
Maria.
I'm
I can
ready.
start.
I'm ready.
So we've all spoken pretty extensively about the importance of finding plus size community. What's one previous idea that the community has helped you change or resculpt?
For myself,
Yeah.
so many. So many. I think probably the biggest one is that, you know, I'm not a bad person for being fat.
Yeah.
That would probably be number one for me. I think just in general that you know, that I'm worthy of living a full and beautiful life. Yeah.
I love that for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I could go on for like an hour about that,
Yeah.
but that's really like,
Honestly. Okay, I heard it. I'm bored. I'm bored. So we're gonna go ahead and move to episode 10. We'll listen to like 5 minutes of that because I'm not sure we're actually gonna, if it's as boring as this is, we're moving along to episode 11 and we'll listen to like the first 10-15 minutes. This is just gonna be a sampler, I guess. I don't fucking know. I'm figuring shit out as I go. I was excited for this. This is boring. So it's important to note that in this one, there's only 3 of them. So let's see if one of the things I'm curious about is if they address the fact that there's only 3 of them now. So anyway, let's go ahead and listen.
The episode you're about to listen to was our last episode filmed as a foursome. We are moving forward as a threesome, and we're really excited for this next chapter. We wish Maria all of the best, and please enjoy our episode all about Rebecca.
So they did acknowledge that they've been reduced to 3, but they're not gonna say like why. But it turns out that they recorded this full one as a group of 4. So this was in fact her last episode. Kind of curious to know if anything happens from that, but we'll see.
everybody, welcome back to the Four Fab Fatties. We are Allie,
Maria.
Rebecca.
And Alyssa.
and you guys, we are back with our series talking about another one of our favorite topics, Rebecca.
We're having you take a break this week. Just this week, you
Can't
know.
always be about me. You know?
Can't, but
Fine.
you know, it should be, right?
In Allie's world, it is.
You know what? Everybody up here thinks that I'm fabulous. So
She is, for our listeners, pointing to her brain.
we all think I'm a star. No, you guys, we were talking about Rebecca this week because they really did a number on me in my interview. So we're going to do the same to her.
I can feel Rebecca's nervous
The cringe
anxiety
is happening.
just like slowly coming off of her in waves.
Oh, man, she's going to do great.
She
She's
thinks
gonna
it's
do-
interesting.
She's like, I find it interesting that I have to be here today.
That you guys keep asking me questions.
We have so many questions. We have so many questions for Rebecca.
I did come with 10 full questions.
Oh man.
I actually
That's
have,
me
I have
alone.
5. So I don't know if we'll get to all of them today,
we won't,
but
but I did come with some
we're
hitters.
diving in. We're
You
diving
know
in
what
on
I'm
our girl
honestly
Rebecca.
most scared about? The lightning round, because that requires.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
boom.
but Allie didn't go that fast. Allie took her time in the
Thank
lightning
goodness.
round.
I appreciate the
There
set
were
of
a
pace.
couple seconds pause. A couple seconds. It wasn't like I waited 5 minutes.
Be like, play it back. We got it on tape.
I've got the tape. Okay, there were several seconds. It was not minutes. All right.
No, it wasn't.
Speaking
minutes.
of lightning round, go.
Okay. Rebecca, would you rather? Okay, wait. Okay. Sorry.
Maria,
No,
go.
she stressed me out. She stressed me out. I'm ready now. Okay.
Would you rather one duck-sized?
No, it's different. Okay. Would you rather sneeze cheese or have spaghetti come out of your ears every time you sneeze?
That's horrifying.
I
But
mean,
you
If
know
you're
what?
not sneezing cheese, I'm not your friend anymore.
Yeah, I want the spaghetti out of my ears. I feel like it would feel very relaxing getting the spaghetti out of my
It
ears.
might actually.
But if
It
she
would be a
sneezes
release.
cheese, I can eat it.
I am judging this so hardcore because honestly, my own personal like fondue machine.
That's really gross where they're going with this. That's like y'all. Like, don't get me wrong, the question was weird, but you can kind of get over the question. Them talking about wanting to eat the cheese she sneezes in this like this scenario, you realize you're giving so much fodder to the online people that hate you. That's disgusting. Even in a hypothetical situation, I would not want to eat cheese that my friend sneezed out of their nose. That's disgusting. Oh, that actually makes me nauseous. That is foul. Oh my god.
With
Thank you.
So
absolutely.
y'all want to benefit
Yes.
Yes.
Off of your
Absolutely.
cheese.
I mean,
if you
I'm not going to be mad about pasta, like a
that
never-ending
is
pasta,
freshly
but
made
like
pasta.
is it though?
We've
could
been
know that.
imagining like Play-Doh.
I'm upset that now that I know that there was a cheese fondue on call option and now it's gone.
But you picked 100 ducks of 100
Duck
horse-sized
size-
ducks.
Oh, man. Here we go
Like
again.
a duck-sized
Peter,
portion.
stop listening.
Alyssa, you
Please
came
be a
up with this
sponsor.
thing, okay?
Listen, spaghetti is my choice.
I
and
know my
that is,
strengths.
I'm allowed to
Okay.
have
You know
a
what?
choice.
Go.
I'm
go,
ready.
Maria.
I'm ready. Go to first date.
I mean, honestly, I'm really basic. It's a coffee shop. I like a coffee shop that has a little bakery, you know, Amelie's.
We love some omelets.
Yeah, I've gone to Amelie's multiple times now for first dates, and they tend to be decent first dates. The atmosphere is good. And if the person pays for it, you get a free pastry.
And the Percentile. We go there too.
Oh yeah, there's a Percentile in Concord, and that's like little baked goods, ice cream, and coffee. But yeah, I'm a coffee girl. I like it. I like that it's casual. I like that it can extend. It may have extended to a dinner date the other day. But
We're already talking about it on the
yeah,
pod.
if you are not into it, it's like I gotta go do some errands.
And I have all this energy because I'm all
Yeah.
hopped up on caffeine.
See you later.
All hopped up on Mountain
Yeah.
Dew.
What do I do with my hands?
All right, Rebecca, favorite movie?
You've Got Mail. You've Got Mail with Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks.
I like
I
that you're explaining
love
it to
it.
us.
Listen, have you watched You've Got Mail?
No.
Oh my god.
All right. Again, I'm bored. I am bored. These are boring. So we're going to go ahead and move on to number 11. I don't think we're going to get like a full 20 minutes in, but we're going to aim for 10 to 15 minutes into the number 11 since it is Oprah, Shame, Blame, the Weight Loss Selling Game, which means we're not doing more of this. So, give me 5 seconds. I will have that start up. All right, and now we're going to go ahead and start the next episode just because I had to pause my whole recording for a second. I don't remember what I said, so I'm going to say it again. This is episode 11, Oprah, Shame, Blame, and the Weight Loss Game. This is 56 minutes long, which means we're going to aim ideally for about 20 minutes, but if we don't get there, that's fine.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Fab Fatties. We are so excited to join you. And to join you, we are so excited to have you.
You could be joining them.
You know, we're joining you. We're having you. This is just already going off the rails. Hi, I'm Allie.
I'm Rebecca.
I'm Alyssa.
Today, we are... we're talking about a subject that a lot of people are talking about. And we're talking about Oprah's special, Shame, Blame, and the Weight Loss Revolution. We do want to let you guys know that both myself and Rebecca did watch the special. Alyssa did not. So I would like to start this episode out with you, Alyssa, and talk to us a little bit about why specifically you did not watch the special.
Yeah, it's been all over social media, and especially with the people, we engage with on social media. There's been a lot of conversations around this special, and I wanted to join the conversation, so it came up in one of my team sessions throughout the week where my team was very adamant that I do not watch the special, and they felt that it would be triggering to my recovery. I don't know what's the word.
And when you say your team,
Yeah.
I mean my team. I mean my therapists and my dietitian all were like, why would you do that? And I kind of was like, well, like to have good conversations, you know? And they were like, but you know enough to have the conversations. You don't need to watch something triggering and then work like on purpose.
right?
Yeah.
So I do know a lot about this.
So, like, here's the thing: if it's going to be detrimental to your emotional health, of course, don't watch it. I don't know if I 100% agree with that. Well, you know enough to have a conversation about it, not if the conversation is specifically centered on the special. There's going to be certain things that were said on the special that maybe you didn't see. I'm not saying that it's wrong that she didn't watch the special. I think if that is what she needed to do for her own mental health, that's fine. I just disagree on her therapist and her nutritionist perspective on that personally. But let's go ahead and hear what she has to say.
Special. I did not watch the special. And I feel even validated in that because while Allie was watching, she texted me being like, Alyssa, you do not watch this.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. Yeah. Why? So what in that moment brought up where you messaged me and you were like, don't watch? What was that moment?
I can't remember the exact moment, but it was very early on that, and I do want to state for our listeners and our viewers, that nothing about our episode here today is meant to, we did do an episode on Ozempic, right? So nothing that we're going to talk about today is meant to shame anyone who has looked into these prescription weight loss medications or has taken these prescription weight loss medications. We're not shaming Oprah, anything of the sorts. But very, very early on into the episode, at least for me, I felt that there was a strong narrative that was already being pushed of smaller is better. Smaller is better. And so, yes, very.
So actually, we're going to go ahead and listen to like 15, 20 minutes. This might be yet another one though, where we just start a new episode next time because I didn't watch this Oprah special. I'm not a huge fan of Oprah. I haven't been a huge fan of Oprah since those eruptions in Hawaii where she owned land in Hawaii and people that had nowhere to go because of the eruptions and shit, she like hired guards to protect her land so that way people wouldn't seek refuge on her land, which I had serious issues with. Um, so I, in general, and not only that, but I just haven't followed Oprah since she went to her own network. Um, so if you are, actually, I'm curious, how many of you are still invested in Oprah? Just, this is just a genuine question. How many of you are still invested in Oprah?
Very early on, it triggered me, and I couldn't imagine what that must have done for you. So I was like, yeah, listen, I agree. Don't. But I know that you, Rebecca, having watched it as well, your rage kind of came a little bit later. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So first, I want to say I would never watch this in my own time. I typically actively avoid this kind of content, and because I don't feel like it serves me, which was interesting because there were times where Oprah really pointed out who the audience was for this, and I would have fit into her view of who the audience is. Like she thinks it's anyone who's dealt with obesity, anyone who's had any kind of experience of
With the air quotes.
yeah, of weight, yeah, and of weight, aka everybody, but of a higher weight than society says is okay. And so normally I would completely avoid this kind of material because I know it is likely meant in some way, shape, or form to sell me on something, whether that's an idea or a medication or something else. And I honestly struggle to listen sometimes to experts because they're very much experts on the things they're asked to be expert about, and they're not experts on me living in my body. And so I struggle to deal with what they say because I like to be unaffected by it. But one of the things I was thinking about last night is like Oprah's relevancy to me. Like Oprah's not relevant to me. I haven't watched her since I was a kid. And I liked her when she was giving cars to everybody, you know? Like, I was like, what's her relevance?
You get a car.
Me,
You get a car. Everybody gets a car.
Yes, amazing. Amazing, Oprah, please. But she is relevant to me because she has so much cultural sway, right? She has the ability to put together this kind of special that is seen on a major network that we actually just met someone a little bit ago who I would never have assumed to watch it. And mostly because he's a straight sized male. And he told me he watched it and that he was interested because someone in his family was considering Ozempic. And so she doesn't get to not affect me as much as I would love for that to be the case because she has such a recognized voice in American society. And she has the resources. She has the pull. She has the business.
So, this is not to, like, shit on Oprah or anything, but I really don't think she has nearly as much cultural sway as she did in the past. Like, I'm not saying that Rebecca is, like, completely off, what's the term I'm looking for? Like, off track with that. Because I understand what she's getting at, but at the same time, like, I don't think, especially for the younger generations, Oprah just doesn't have the relevance anymore. Like, she might still have some sway with maybe some older millennials, some Gen Xers, probably some boomers, that sort of thing. But I don't think that she has as much cultural sway, nearly as much cultural sway as she once did. Perhaps I'm wrong. If I am wrong, please feel free to correct me on that. But I haven't kept up with her. I said I didn't keep up with her since the whole thing in Hawaii, but no, honestly, I wasn't keeping up with her before that either. I have After she left like mainstream television, I pretty much stopped paying attention. Not that I paid that close attention before, but before she would just kind of appear on the TV like in the background and I would pick up some things there, but for the most part, I don't I never paid that much attention to her. And once she left mainstream television, I kind of forgot all about her. So, genuinely curious about how you feel about Oprah.
Right. And so I think as much as I want to be untouched by Oprah's messaging, I am not untouched by her messaging.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of walked away with thinking last night.
Well, I think it's interesting, right? Like you can get to borrow Rebecca's word, right? I think it's interesting because I do feel affected by Oprah. But there's two sides of it, right? It's not black, it's not white. There is a gray area, I feel, with Oprah because I feel like who better to talk about the shame and blame, right, than Oprah, who has been, her body has been the topic of public fodder, right? And the public has felt like they have had permission to discuss Oprah's weight and her body for decades upon decades. And
Okay, genuinely curious where this is coming from. Like, I think that her body was talked about some when she was on mainstream television and she was like very much in the public spotlight, and then especially after she lost some weight, and that was like she's had multiple specials regarding weight loss. I remember even when I was a kid she had at least a couple of those. So yes, at least in the past, I don't know about now. Like I said, I haven't been paying that much attention, but in the past, yes, they talked about her weight, but that was partially at least because she was very much central in the public eye, and that just kind of happens. So let's hear more of what they have to say.
And I have been affected by that because every day when I got home from school, my mom was watching Oprah, right? So every single day I was getting these messages, right? And so yes, Oprah very much has been affected by diet culture, by the weight loss industry, by all of these things. And at the same time, Oprah has also been, peddling these miracle drugs, quote unquote, for decades. It was her rolling a wagon of her 50 pounds of fat onto the stage and her saying, this is the diet that I'm on now and this is the drug I'm taking now and I'm not eating bread, I am eating bread, and very much, perpetuating the cycle, right? So I am affected by Oprah and I also
Okay, but I think to a certain extent that is based on just what you were watching. So I don't get me wrong, Oprah was on my TV too when she was like on the mainstream networks off and on. But the ones that always kind of stuck around on my TV and that stick in my brain is there was this point in time when there were like these, it was a reality TV show where these people would live like they did in a certain time period. And I think there were a couple of different ones. There was one that was like in the Depression era, and then there was one that was more like Victorian era or maybe a little earlier than that. Um, but like it was more like think Anne of Green Gables sort of lifestyle, right? Those are the ones, and there were times when Oprah would like dress in the gear and go out and spend some time with them hearing from their perspectives of what this experience was like. Those are the ones that stick out in my mind, especially because of the "We're Off Without Our Panties" song she sang. Like it wasn't a big song or anything, but there was just because she wasn't allowed to wear underwear because they didn't have underwear, at least not in the traditional, not in the modern sense at that time, and she was very floored by that. That's what I remember. I vaguely remember some of the weight loss stuff, but that as someone that was also a child when Oprah was prominently on the TV, the ones that I remember were the covers of the reality TV stuff, especially the ones with like the historical angle to it. So I think it just kind of depends on what stuck out to you as a child. And that's what stuck out to me. That one because I found it interesting. Um, but again, this is something that kind of like your perspective. Like when you think of Oprah, what sticks out in your mind? Because for me, it's the reality TV ones, and then of course the free car stuff.
understand Oprah has done so much more. Oprah has done so much more than publicly lost weight and publicly peddled weight loss, right? She has done so much more. She is an incredible person.
Most people, I think, would agree that she has done much more. Whether she's an incredible person, you guys. I said it before. I have some issues with how Oprah handled the stuff in Hawaii. But she has done a lot more. I don't know anyone that isn't aware of like Oprah's book club and O magazine and like all this shit that I mean she's done a massive amount of shit. So, I don't know of anyone that thinks of Oprah purely in the weight loss sense. Genuinely, I can't think of anyone that thinks of Oprah strictly just from the way like Oprah is, especially when I was growing up, was a fucking powerhouse. So, I mean, of course she's more than just the weight loss thing, but I don't know if anyone ever saw her as just the weight loss person either, you know?
And none of this takes away from that, but it was disappointing. It was disappointing for me because at the end of the day, for me, that special it still did so much harm. It still did so much harm. There was no accountability of really anybody saying, we know what we've done here. And not only that, this is what we're still doing. This is what we're still doing because we're still saying, look, the narrative has changed. We no longer think it's your fault. We no longer think you're a bad person for this. But the solution to that is still shrink yourself. That's what I got from it. I feel like you're getting emotional.
I am. And I knew I was going to. We don't know what we don't know. We don't know what we don't know, right? There are people out there in a larger body who still think and believe from messaging that they're the problem, that they're unhealthy.
Chances are they probably are. If they are, I'm sorry, but y'all are not healthy. You can't be the weight that you all collectively are and be healthy. You may not have any immediate health issues, but that doesn't mean that you are healthy. Just because you have clean blood work right now doesn't mean that you are healthy. I can hear you guys laboring to breathe in certain parts of your podcast. Of the 3 that we've looked at today, there have been times when it's clear that they have labored breathing. That's not healthy. And look, if that's how you want to live your life, by all means, go ahead. That's the thing, is that I'm like, I don't care really what you do with your life, but don't lie and say that you're healthy when you're clearly not.
That they're unworthy of the space they take up. And they are
Oh God, the unworthiness of space bullshit. No, miss me with that.
actively living their life just to shrink themselves.
Yes.
I'm upset that someone who has as much resources as Oprah doesn't have all of the information. That's why I'm upset. I'm like sitting here.
This is so fucking condescending. This irritates me. If someone with as much money as Oprah doesn't have all the information. What the information of Hayes? Honey, it's a bunch of bullshit. I'm sorry. But it is. It's a bunch of bullshit. And if you want to believe it, like, who am I to fucking stop you, I guess? But no one else is going to accept that as fact the way that you will. Because it's just wrong. And you can try to put up evidence and stuff, and I can put up my evidence that to the contrary, and I guarantee that my evidence is going to outstack yours 10 to 1 at least. If you want to believe it, that's fine. You choose to believe it. But just know that you are believing it, and it is not supported by the vast majority of medical science.
I'm like, no, she has the resources to do better. Her lived experience is so valid, but doesn't that lived experience make you want to learn why? I understand weight loss worked for her. Intentional weight loss worked for Oprah. It does not work for the majority of people, right?
Yeah.
It worked for Oprah because she was able to hire multiple specialists to help keep her on track, and she didn't have to think about it too much. That's I don't have like a full on this is exactly what happened, but given the amount of money she has, that's what I would say happened. The reason why the majority of people can't maintain that isn't because of they're just inherently their body cannot. That's not what that is. It's that it requires a lot of continual conscious decision making, which a lot of people can tire out from pretty quickly. And it takes a lot of discipline and willpower. I think the bigger thing is that, people have to make a series of continuous conscious decisions where Oprah was able to have other people kind of make those decisions for her, and she just committed to eating what was put in front of her and not asking for more or whatever. Like you can pass off a lot of the responsibility to others, and your goal is just to make do with what they give you. That sort of thing. Like that's something a lot easier to do than taking all of the food, portioning it out, knowing exactly where the other portions are and resisting it continually. And making better food choices and navigating those things on your own, not having specialists that already know. That sort of thing. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely added struggles if you're doing it on your own. But the reason why Oprah was able to do it and many others are not, is not because Oprah is special in some way, but because of like her body is special in some way.
But when she's on a special on TV who reaches millions of people across the world, you know, her quote is, the number one thing I hope people come away with is knowing that obesity is a disease and it's in the brain. It's an unscientific claim.
Yeah.
I just want to talk about unscientific claims. Are you fucking kidding me? And the whole point of her saying that, one, obesity is a disease. That is how it's classified. Um, and her saying that it's in the brain isn't entirely wrong. I think it's just poor phrasing. Because what I think she means by it's in the brain is that we have massively engineered food that's meant to, I don't know if disrupt brain chemistry is the right way, but definitely influence certain signals in the brain, um, and bypass certain signals in the brain, so that way you keep eating. So in that way, it is kind of a brain issue because the food is so engineered for us to bypass certain mechanisms that tell us that we're sick of something, or tell us that we're full, or tell us that um we don't need it or whatever. Like they become very hard to resist, was my point with that. Those are brain issues. I think that perhaps that was just not presented super well.
Well, here's where they're going to disagree with you, because obesity by a certain agency, okay, we can think a certain medical agency has named obesity as a disease. And as someone who studies words, words change over.
Okay, I'm sorry. What does that mean, you study words that, like, I mean, I've seen people that talk about the linguists that examine the change of words throughout time and stuff, but I wish you would expand on that a little bit.
Over time, what we think of that word changes over time. Depending on institutions, they can formalize words into certain meanings and not. So I think let's get into that whole idea of obesity as disease. Like, what does that mean? What does it mean when we say
It means it's classified as a disease. That's what it means. It's classified as a disease. This isn't even like, yes, even classifications and their words can change over time. I'm no longer comfortable saying it, but if anyone knows those with autism, where it's now considered a slur. It starts with an R. That's used to refer to people with autism or developmental disorders. At one time, that was a medical classification. It was changed to reflect the times. So yes, in those ways, words change over time. The medical community recognized that this word was being used as a slur towards people that have that condition. So it was changed. It's been changed a couple times. Obesity has not reached that point, and just because you find it to be a slur doesn't mean that it is. And I don't, unlike the R word, I don't think that obesity is going to turn into a slur, because it's not typically used as an insult. Like, we do say that, oh, you're obese, but far more often, calling someone big back or a whale or a cow or fat or something are far more often used in the realm of insults rather than obesity.
something is a disease?
That I feel like that's a very broad question, a very heavy question. I feel like as it relates to the special, it was leaned on very heavily.
Yes.
It was very much used as a, oh, did you guys get the memo? Did you get the memo that it was that obesity is a disease, that it's a disease? Back in 2013, they called it a disease. Did you get the memo? Did you get, like, it was a joke. Like, it was a joke. It was like a running joke. Did you get that memo? Like, it's not a joke.
Yes, because the idea is that it is a new idea.
It's not.
Well, in terms of in relative history, 10 years isn't that long ago to consider obesity a disease. And I think the reason they like to say it is because who are they imagining as their enemy? Okay. Who are they imagining as the people oppressing fat people? They imagine it to be the schoolyard bully who is saying you're fat and therefore you're lazy, stupid, dumb, etc. That's who they imagine the enemy to be, that needs, and like the answer to that enemy is to say, well, it's not that they're stupid or dumb or lazy, it's that they have a disease. And to them, that's an answer they can live with. They can live with it because then it takes away personal responsibility. And so in some way, for the people who take that, it allows the removal of self as problem. And they kept saying like willpower, et cetera, as like the source of the problem, right? So if it's a disease, it's not about our willpower because we have no ability to affect whether or not we have a disease, okay? But also on the other hand of that, let's think of other common diseases, right? HIV, et cetera, which still has a stigma of you caused it to yourself, right? The idea of then not treating it.
Genuinely curious. I never thought of HIV as, oh, you caused it to yourself sort of illness. Do you guys view it that way? I've never viewed it that way. Even diabetes, type 2 diabetes, which can be seen as, oh, you did it to yourself because of poor diet and exercise and, eating crap food or whatever. At the same time, like, I don't view it that way. It's like this is a chronic condition that they have to deal with, and whether they cause it or not is kind of beside the point. The difference between those and obesity, though, is that obesity is something that you can actively change very quickly. Like, very quickly, you can change it. Like, within a year, you can have visible, clear changes for that disease. So much of the side effects of obesity can be reduced simply by incorporating more exercise, less calories, and just like balanced nutrition. Like, that's all it takes for obesity. Unlike diabetes, where, yeah, you can do all that, but you still need medication in the meantime in order to survive. Like that, and there's no guarantee with diabetes that losing weight and changing your diet and exercising more will inherently lead to a remission of the diabetes. It's more likely, but it's not guaranteed. Where with obesity, it's guaranteed. Where if you are sticking with a calorie deficit, higher nutrition, food, and a bit of exercise, you are guaranteed to see results. If you're doing it right, if you're doing it faithfully, you are guaranteed to see results. Where with the other stuff, you're not.
Is against everything we believe.
Wow, that's really interesting.
So to me, it's super powerful to say that obesity is a disease because the medical industry then forces us to treat it.
Wow. Even following that train of thought, that is like super impacting me right now. Like that's landing. And I want to take it as far as obesity is based on BMI. And we can't get into BMI right now because it will be an entire episode on its own about BMI. If you don't know, BMI it was not created and meant to measure one person.
It is inherently racist.
It is inherently racist.
It is meant, the BMI was created to say, this is the ideal body, not this is
That's a fucking lie. It's a lie. We're already at the 50-minute mark. I don't have the energy to search up this stuff. If they do a full video on the BMI, we will address it there. Um, it's so there's putting so much shit in here. But let's go ahead. We only have a few minutes left that we're gonna actually let's take a look. Yeah, we're about 14 minutes in. I'm actually going to try to get close to the 20-minute mark because I don't know if we're going to do this. I don't know if we're going to continue this one only because I didn't see the special. Um, but yeah. But we're going to go ahead and listen to like the last 6 minutes of our 20-minute chunk. And then we're going to end it.
Is the healthy body.
So that's what I was going to say, right? BMI it does not relate at all to your cardiometabolic health, which is your blood pressure, your glucose, your lipid levels. That defines your health. That has nothing.
No, it's holistic. It all counts. I don't see how you guys can say there are so many different factors to someone being overweight, and yet you like to narrow it down on what qualifies someone as healthy or not. That's not how that works. It all works together. Weight is an impact of health, whether you want to acknowledge that or not. It is one aspect of health. I will give you that. It is one aspect of health. But it is an aspect of health that impacts most other forms of health.
To do with your BMI.
I think what I'm struggling with through all of this, like, is that we still feel this need, right? As we discuss this, we're discussing this episode, we're discussing, how they're putting this label out there and, oh, well, the BMI isn't this and obesity really isn't this and this. This episode truly made me feel that you can be worthy of, you can be fat and be worthy of being treated as a human being as long as all of those things look okay, right? As long as your health is fine, right? So I feel like I need to start like wearing a big ass lanyard around my neck. Like, it's okay, everybody. I'm technically healthy. So you should.
Honestly, you guys sound like smokers that don't want to give up their habit. Like, all my blood work is fine. Everything else shows that, it's good. I'm good. Doesn't mean that you aren't engaging in an unhealthy behavior and people aren't going to judge you for it. Just as I judge smokers for smoking, I judge you for your clear overeating. I do. I judge. You're still engaging in healthy behavior. That doesn't make it okay. Just as someone saying, I don't have the effects of chronic smoking yet, therefore I'm healthy, doesn't mean that their smoking is okay. They can do whatever the fuck they want because it's their body, especially if they're doing it away from people, so that way there's no secondhand smoke concerns. But it doesn't mean that they're okay to do it. It does not mean that they are right.
Treat me better, right?
I'd go so far as it's okay to be fat as long as you are attempting to be thin. I don't even know that they would ask questions of these people, and every once in a while they'd give indicators of other types of health numbers. But the first thing was kind of like, how much have you lost, and like size difference. And this is one thing that really interested me whenever they talked about obesity as a disease, because I will give them one credit, which is that they did admit if you go on these semaglutides, etc., you are going to be on them for life because the results are only based on this thing being present in your body, right? So like this is not a treatment until thin and then you can come off of it. If you lose weight successfully, as the goal of this medicine is for some people, you will most likely gain that back if you just continue usage of that medication. And I'll just say, like, my sister is on it and had to get off for like 3 or 4 weeks due to access issues. And in that time, she said, yes, like the roaring hunger feeling of not being satiated came back so much. She gained, I think, 13 or 14 pounds in that time. And that's where we get into that yo-yoing. That really is hard
Which
for
is
your system.
so dangerous.
Yeah. But one of the things I thought was interesting as they were talking about this fact that, yes, you're going to have to be on this forever, was the fact that when they talked about obesity as a disease, they said that basically as you become thin, you no longer have obesity. But if you were to come off of it, the disease state would come back. So obesity then is purely just fat on your body. There's no...
Okay, this sounds so fucking stupid to me. I'm sorry, but this is like insulin regulates your blood sugar, but if you go off of that, then uh the blood sugar would not level out. So diabetes really is just like, no. That's what it sounds like to me. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like you guys are trying to say, well, it's just an innate part of someone. No, this is part of disease management. Now, semaglutide usage is up for debate, and that's not something I really want to get into because honestly, I don't think it's been around long enough for us to fully judge the potential health risks with it. It's relatively new still. We don't know about the long-term effects. It's not something for me personally. I know a family member that is doing it. It's not something that I want, but I do think that there is a level of risk here in that we don't know the long term effects of it. And going off it could definitely, I could see how that could cause, insane hunger to come back as a side effect of going off of it. I do have a question of if someone was on it for a very long time, so they're eating significantly less food, their stomach would likely shrink some. So if they were on it long enough that their stomach shrank some to where it doesn't have, like, you're not eating the same amount of food, how likely are you to gain the weight back? It's just, I think to a certain extent I think semaglutide could be a very useful tool, but the issue is that I think it's done just as its own treatment, where I think in tandem with positive habit changes, it could be a long-term fix even after you went off it because you got into more of a habit of eating healthier, eating more balanced meals, eating, I mean, smaller portions, learning portion control sizes and that sort of thing. And it's easier to adhere to those portion control sizes because the semaglutide lowers um your hunger and your threshold for feeling full. So it's just, I think that it could still be useful even in a short to moderate term use rather than strictly long term. But I think it requires a multi-layered approach and a holistic approach that many people are not taking with it.
Other indicators that they're taking in to that. And then Oprah said something like you can be overweight without having the disease of obesity, and that those people could just exercise and diet their way to thinness. So I'm also very confused about that whenever they then describe the way that fat cells and such affect your body.
She paralleled that to alcoholism.
Yeah.
How you can
Some people can drink and not be
you
an
can
alcoholic.
drink alcohol and you can drink a lot of alcohol but not be an alcoholic.
Yeah. So again,
How does that relate?
well, it comes back down to food noise and food addiction type such, because then they're still saying whenever they represent the idea of the people who were having issues pre this medicine, which then is, of course, they're in the obesity disease state, air quotes. All right. The symptoms they said was that they had really loud food noise, always thought of food, were not ever full.
Yeah.
And I will say for myself, that is something I struggled with. Okay. So whenever they talk about it, and just FYI, in case you didn't know, I've had weight loss surgery. When they said that, I could relate. I've had the feeling of that being a very prevalent part of my thinking. Always thinking about food, always hungry, I used to never feel like I could be full. I never was satiated. So I recognize that to be a real thing that happens. But then when they talk about this medication, they describe it as taking those things away without really explaining what else it does to your body besides making like, these bonds that they didn't even explain well. So I'm still really confused by how they describe obesity as a disease, because what I came away from with all their different explanations was that obesity is a disease state, meaning that it's because of the state of your body, aka how much adipose tissue you have.
All right, we're approaching 20 minutes of this, and honestly, I kind of feel like I'm done because I can argue until the cows come home. They are like committed to not like the fact that she's confused at the difference of parallels between alcoholism and food addiction is telling in and of itself. But also, I just feel like I'm having a hard time saying anything because I don't have the source to refer back to or even like mentally refer back to because I've never seen the special. So I would love to hear your opinions in the comments down below. Next time we'll take a look at episode 12, although my guess is that it'll be 12 and 13 because 12 is Alyssa's story. It's Alyssa's interactions in centered podcast episode, which I have no desire to really like. I didn't enjoy Rebecca's or Allie's, so I don't think I'll enjoy Alyssa's. We'll watch the first few minutes of it, but otherwise we're just gonna move on. But I think that's it for these 3 episodes. We'll move on to the next ones next time. Let me know what you think. I let this go on a lot longer than I initially meant to. So I'm gonna end it here. No manhwa review for today, although I did finish Stephen King's The Colorado Kid, and that was really interesting because it didn't have like a firm conclusion. It was a really interesting, it's a meandering sort of narrative that doesn't lead to a satisfying conclusion. It was very real world. It's very real world. It's very kind of interesting. And I recommend it as a library checkout. I think it's worth your time to read. It's not very long, but it's not going to be for everybody, for sure. But that's my only book recommendation for this week. So, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of this. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.